私たちは何のために生まれてきたのでしょうか。
Why were we born as a human being?
何のために生きているのでしょうか。
Why do we live?
何のために生きなければならないのでしょうか。
Why do we have to continue live on?
必ず死ぬのになぜ生きねばならないのでしょうか。
Why do we have to live on despite one day that we are going to die?
お釈迦様は私たちが生まれがたい人間に生まれ、そして今人間として生きているのは仏教を聞くためですよとおっしゃっています。
Shakyamuni Buddha taught that the reason that we were born as a human being that is difficult to be born as is to listen to the teachings of Buddhism.
その仏教を聞くということは、これは阿弥陀仏の本願を聞くということです。
To listen to the teachings of Buddhism, referring to listen to Amida Buddha's primal vow.
これは私たちはいつも聞かせていただいているんですが、仏教というのはこの阿弥陀仏の本願を説かれたものであると。こういうことを知らせていただいたということは、これ実はもう大変な幸せなことなんですね。
So even though we always have been learning this, but to know that to listen to Buddhism, referring to listen to Amida Buddha's primal vow, to encounter such true teachings, this is something that we should feel joy about.
2600年前に説かれた仏教を私たちは今日どうして知ることができるのでしょうか。
Buddhism was conveyed 2,600 years ago. So why, after 2,600 years later, people like us are able to know it? We are able to know what is it talk about?
それはお釈迦様のおっしゃったことがすべて書き残されているお経、一切経があるからですね。
The reason is because all the teachings that was taught by Shakyamuni Buddha was being recorded, and those record is referred to as the sutras.
35歳で仏の悟りを開かれてから80歳で亡くなられるまでの45年間、お釈迦様がおっしゃったことのすべてが書き残されているものが7000冊以上もあるお経ですね。一切経ですね。
So, at the age of 35, Shakyamuni Buddha, he attained the Buddha's enlightenment until he passed away at the age of 80. Throughout the 45 years, the teachings that Shakyamuni Buddha taught was being recorded, and this record is referred to as sutras, or it is also referred to as the All Sutras.
仏教を知るためには、その7000冊以上のお経をすべて読んで、正しく理解しなければなりません。
In order to understand what is Buddhism, we have to read all the sutras, the more than 7,000 sutras, and understand it correctly.
7000冊の本を読むということだけでもですね、これはもう気の遠くなるような話ですね。
気の遠くの話。
気の遠くなるような大変なことですね。
はい。So to read through more than 7,000 sutras, this is something that will take you ages to complete.
1日に1冊確実に読んだとしてもですね、7000冊読み終わる頃にはですね、までには何年かかりますか？
Even if we are able to read one sutra and completely understand it in a day, how long does it take will it take to complete reading all the sutras?
何年ぐらいかかりますかね？
How many years would that take? Everyone, what do you think?
More than 20 years.
20年以上だと思います。ケビン君が言いました。
今おいくつですか？
How old are you, Kevin?
33.
33歳です。
じゃあ読み終わった頃何歳になりますか？
So once you completed all the sutras, how old will you be?
53.
53歳？もしもし、
あ、大丈夫ですか？
聞こえますか？
あ、今聞こえます。大丈夫でしょうか？
はい。
はい、53歳になります。
53、今33歳で、今日から初めてですね。読み終わった頃に53歳ですね。
はい。So if you start today, by the time you finish, you will be 53 years old.
もうこれ全部読むだけでも大変でしょ、だから。
So reading all the sutras alone, this is a very tough task to complete.
そして、この20年後にね、全部読んだ内容を理解して、結論として阿弥陀仏の本願一つでしたと、こういうことを言うってことなんですね、これ。
So, in other words, these 20 years, you will be reading all the sutras, completely understand them and finish them. And then 20 years later, at the age of 53, you are able to give out the conclusion that the only thing that Shakyamuni Buddha wants to tell us is Amida Buddha's primal vow.
ちょっと考えてみてください。そんな20年前に読んだこと覚えてますか？ね、
そう
10年前に読んだこと覚えてますか？これ。20年間全部読んだことを結論を出すってこれ大変なことでしょう。
Try to imagine 20 years ago, the book that you have read 20 years ago, or the books that you have read 10 years ago. Were you still able to remember what is actually being written in the books? So would that be easy for you to give out a conclusion 20 years later?
もう一回読み直したらまたもう20年かかるんですから、もうこれもうほぼね、できる人いないですよね。そんなことできる人ね。
So if you can't remember what you read 20 years ago, you have to restart again. Then it will take you another 20 years. So in other words, to complete reading and complete understanding all the sutras, it's an impossible task. It's something that is very difficult to achieve.
だから仏教といったらね、この中山の中へ入って修行するとか、瞑想するとかね、座禅をするとか、まあいろいろなことをみんな言うんですよ。
Many people, when we talk about Buddhism, they would think that it's about meditation, it's about prayers, it's about chanting.
まあ、ところがね、この親鸞上人ということは、仏教というのは、これは阿弥陀仏の本がただ一つ説かれたものですよと断言されてるんですね。
But Master Shinran, he firmly tells us that Buddhism, the only thing that Buddhism teaches us is Amida Buddha's primal vow and Amida Buddha's primal vow alone.
だからもうこういうことを断言される、この教えに合うってことは、これも大変なことですよね。
So it is something wondrous that we are able to encounter a teacher that could give us the conclusion of Buddhism.
人生の目的はこの仏教を聞くということは、それはもう阿弥陀仏の本願を聞くということだと断言されてるんですよ。
So this means that the purpose of life is to listen to the teachings of Buddhism, and to listen to the teachings of Buddhism refer to listen to Amida Buddha's primal vow, and this is the conclusion given by Master Shinran.
いやこれがね、人生の目的だと言われるんですよ。
And this is taught that this is the purpose of life.
いや、人生の目的というのは、これ一つのために生まれてきたということですよ。
And purpose of life refers that the reason why you were born as a human being is to accomplish this mission alone.
今、いろんな勉強するのもね、この阿弥陀仏の本が一つ聞くためだということです。
This means that whatever you learn, there are so many knowledge that you learn. All these are to allow you to learn Amida Buddha's primal vow.
毎日忙しいと仕事をします。それは仕事しなければ生きていけませんから。だけど仕事するのは仕事するためにしてるんじゃないんですね。阿弥陀仏の本願を聞くために仕事しているんですね。
So many people, they claim that they are very busy with their work in everyday life, but we were born as a human being, not to work. The reason why we work is to listen to Amida Buddha's primal vow.
でも食べるのも、ね、寝るのもね、シャワー浴びるのも全部これ阿弥陀仏の本が聞くためなんですよ。
We eat, we sleep, we take shower. All these are for the sake of listening to Amida Buddha's primal vow.
何のためにご飯食べるのか。
Why do we eat?
いや、それは食べなければ生きられないじゃないかって言うんですね。
Some people might reply, if I don't eat, I will die. I
じゃあ
can't
何の
live.
ために、ごめんなさいね。じゃあ何のために食べて生きるんですかということですね。
And the next question would be, so why do you want to live?
いや、それは働くためだっていう人が多いんですね。
And most people would reply, that is because I need to work.
じゃあ何のために働くんですかと。
Then you continue the question, so why do you want to work?
いや、さっき言ったでしょ。働かなかったら食べられないんですよと。
Then they will reply to you, well, I've already replied to you. If I don't work, I can't eat.
じゃあ何のために食べるんですかと。
Then you ask them, so
さっき
why do you eat?
さっき言ったでしょ。働くためですよ。
And they will tell you, oh, I have told you already. I eat so that I can work.
じゃああなたは食べて働いてね、食べて働いて、それずーっとこれ続けることできるんですかそれ。
Then you might ask them, so if you eat and you work and you eat and you work, would this continue forever?
だって今20歳の人はやがて30になるんですよ。
A person who now in their 20s will eventually enter to their 30s.
今30の人はもうすぐ40になるんですよ。
And people in their 30s will eventually enter to their 40s.
いや、もう40になりたくないって言ってもすぐなります。
Even if the person said, no, I don't want to enter into 40s, but eventually, very fast, they will enter to their 40s.
私もすぐ40になりました。
And my sensei almost entering to his 40s.
いや、もうだいぶ前です、それはもう。
That is a long time ago, actually.
もう何十年も前のことです。
It's 10 plus years ago.
だからね、もう、いや、もう50になりたくないって言っても50すぐなるんですよ。
Even if a person said, I don't want to enter to my 50s, eventually, very fast, they will enter into their 50s.
だから、働いて食べて、また働いて食べてと。でもすぐもう60、すぐ70になるんですよ。
So we eat, we live, we eat, we work, we eat, we work. Very fast time flies, and eventually we will enter into our 50, our 60s.
そしてやがてもうすぐ死が来ますよね。
And not long later, death will come to us very fast.
じゃあ何のためにこれ、働いて食べてるんでしょうかそれ死ぬためですかそれ。
So in the end, why do we work? Why do we eat? Is that because we want to die?
私たち死ぬために生まれてきたんじゃないんですね。
We are definitely not being born as a human being to die.
死ぬために生きてるんじゃないんですね。
We are not live to die.
いや、必ず死ななければならないんですけども、死ぬために生きてるんじゃないんですよ。
Although we will definitely encounter death one day, but death is not something that we live for.
じゃあ何のためですかと。
Then why? Why do we live?
何のためかな、なんか美味しいものを食べるためかな、旅行行くためかなと。結婚して子供を育てるためかなとか。みんないろいろなことを思ってるんですね。
So when this question is being asked, many people came up with a lot of answers. Some said, well, perhaps in order to eat delicious food. Some said perhaps it's for traveling. Some might think that is because I need to build my family and raise children.
いずれもね、幸せだと思います。
So all the things we mentioned above, these are what people considered as happiness.
でも何か一つでもね、いよいよ死ななければならないとなったときに、それでもね、変わらない安心とか満足ってあるでしょうか？
But even if we have these sort of things, can we truly attain true peace of mind and true satisfaction?
いや、ずいぶん美味しいものを食べたなと、生まれてきてよかったなと、そういうふうに死ぬとき思えるでしょうか？
The moment when we die, would we think that, I have eaten such delicious food before. I have such a wonderful memories while traveling. Would we think such things the moment when we die?
じゃあ何を食べたらね、もうこれ死んでもいいと言えるんでしょうか？どんな美味しい食べ物を食べたら？
So, what sort of food that once we eaten it, then we would say, I have no regrets, even if I die now. Would that be such food existed?
いや、私の国にね、これ食べたらね、もう大満足。もういつ死んでも後悔ないと。そういう美味しい食べ物ありますよと。そういうのあったら、今ここで教えてください。
If your country have such food, which is once you eat it, then you have no regrets, even if you die now. Please let Maeda Sensei know about this.
いや、私それもすぐそれ食べに行きたいです。もうすごい。飛行機に乗って。
And Maeda Sensei would want to take a plane immediately to your country and try that food.
なんかそういう食べ物ありませんか？
Do you have such food in your country?
これ食べたらね、もういつ死んでも後悔ないと。こういうのありませんか？
The sort of food that you eat it and you would say you are so satisfied that you say, I have no regrets even if I die now. Does such food exist in your country?
No.
ありませんか？
No.
いや、本当はね、あるんだけどね、これは誰にも教えませんと。もう私だけが知ってますと。そんな冷たいこと言わないでください。
So even if there is such food, please don't just keep it for yourself. You need to tell everyone.
誰にも教えないよと。そういうこと言わないで教えてください。
Please don't keep it just for yourself and don't tell anyone. Don't be so selfish.
少なくとも日本にはございません。日本にはありません。断言できます。
But at least in Japan alone, there are no such food existed. And this is what Maeda Sensei can confirm.
誰がないですかね？誰か知らないですか？そういう食べ物。
Does anyone know such food ever existed?
難しいですね、これね。
This is a very difficult question, isn't it?
美しい景色が見えるとこあるよって、この景色見たらね、もう死んでもいいと。もうこの景色見るために生まれてきたと。そういう美しい景色どっかありますか？
Or do you have a very beautiful scenery that, you have to see it at least once. And once you see the scenery, then you can say, this is something I'm truly satisfied. Even if I die now, it doesn't matter. Does such beautiful scenery ever existed in your country?
綺麗な美しいとこあるでしょ？皆さんの国に。
Definitely there are very beautiful sceneries in your country.
一番美しい場所ってどこですか？皆さんの国でね。多くの人がここが一番美しい景色だよと言われるとこ、 どこですか、皆さんの国で。
So, what is the most beautiful scenery in your country that most people claim that it is like the most beautiful place ever in your country?
なんか、あんまりたくさんあって一つ言うの難しいですね。
Is it too many that you can't give even one example?
No, I don't know.
I see. なんか、レンさんがサガタと書いてます。
サガタ。
サガダ。
サガダ。おお。それは、フィリピンには約8000か1万の島がありますけど、どこの島ですか、それは。
So, is it an island, Sagata? No worries, Lent. なんか、マイクが、起動できないようです。
あ、そうですか。あ、いいですよ。
あ、なんか、山だそうです。
あ、山ですか。
It's a mountain, I see.
そうですか。行ってみたいですね。
前田先生 would like to visit it. なんか、雲も見えるところです。
そうですか。
はい、間もなくです、先生と言いました。
マレーシアにもいいとこあるでしょう。
Malaysia. Malaysia. There are some beautiful mountains as well. There are a place in Sabah that looks exactly like New Zealand. なんかニュージーランド似てるところがあります。
そうですか。
はい。
これもぜひ行かなきゃなりませんね。
So, 前田先生 said, I would like to visit it as well. はい、ぜひ。
いや、もう、この景色見るために人間生まれてきたんですよとね、もうみんなに言わずにおれない。そういう、自分もそれ見たらもう死んでも後悔ないと。こういうとこありますかね。
But even there are so many beautiful places in your country, is there any places that you, once you visited it, that you would say something like, I have no regrets in my life now, I can die peacefully. Is there such places?
私、16歳の時に日本のね、富士山というね、遠くから見ると美しい山があるんですよ。そこに登ったことあります。
When Maeda Sensei, at the age of 16, he actually climbed to the Mount Fuji before. Mount Fuji is a mountain which, if you look from far, it's a very beautiful mountain.
登るのも大変でしたけど、頂上に登った時ね、雲が下に見えてね、そこから太陽がこう、朝日が出るのを見た時、もう感動しましたよね、私は。
And to climb Mount Fuji, it's a very tough task. But once you are on the top of Mount Fuji, you are able to see the sunrise and you can see the clouds. And at the time, Maeda Sensei was very touched by the scenery.
いや、私、ここへ登ってくるために、この景色見るために苦労したんだと、その時本当に思いました。
And at the time, Maeda Sensei did thought like, all this hard work, all this effort to climb on this mountain is to see this beautiful scenery. That is what he thought at the time.
だけどね、もうあれから40年以上経ちました。
But that was 40 years ago.
今はね、かすかに記憶に残ってます。
Now, there's only vague memory about that place.
どんな美味しいものを食べてもね、どんな美しい景色見てもですね、どんな音楽聴いてもね、その時は喜べるんですけども、だんだんとこう、喜びが薄れてしまうんですね。
No matter what beautiful scenery that make you touch, or delicious food you ate, or wonderful music you listened, this joy, eventually it will fade away.
だからそんなね、もう永久に全く変わらない、永久に変わらない喜び、満足ってそういうのはちょっと想像できないんですよね。
That is why this everlasting joy, this everlasting satisfaction and everlasting peace of mind, it's something that beyond our human imagination. We cannot understand. It's beyond our imagination.
ところがね、阿弥陀仏の本願を聞いたならね、そしたら、もう永久に変わらない幸福になれると言われるんですよ。
But in Buddhism, it is taught that if you listen to Amida Buddha's primal vow, you are able to attain this everlasting joy, this everlasting happiness.
それもっと詳しく聞かせてくださいと。こういう私たちに親鸞上人がおっしゃってるんですよ。
So please let me know more about this happiness. And this is why Master Shinran further explained all these teachings to us.
それがね、歎異抄のね、第一章なんですよ。
And the content is written on the first chapter of Tanisho.
ちょっとそれ英語で読んでいただけませんか？
はい。So let us
誰か
read.
一章覚えてる人いますか？英語でもう覚えてしまったという人いますか？
Has anyone remembered the words of Master Shinran on the first chapter?
グリーンブックで167ページなんですけどね。
If you have the book You Were Born for a Reason, it is written on page 167.
じゃあ、読んでいただけますか？
はい。その真ん中のところですね。
I am certain というですね。
はい。So I'll read it once. I am certain to achieve rebirth in paradise, being saved through the wonder of Amida's vow. When you believe this, a mind intent on saying the Nembutsu arises within you, and in that instant, you receive the benefit of being held fast, never to be forsaken. You should know that Amida's primal vow does not discriminate between young and old, or good and evil. The sole requirement is faith.
ありがとうございます。阿弥陀仏の本願に、弥陀の誓願不思議な阿弥陀仏の、お約束に通りに助けていただいてと最初に言われてるんですね。
So Master Shinran said at the very beginning on this sentence is that he is being saved through the wonder of Amida Buddha's primal vow.
そしたら親鸞上人どうなるんですか？どうなられたんですかと私たちはお聞きしたくなります。
And the next thing that we are curious and we want to ask Master Shinran is, so what happens to you once you are being saved by Amida Buddha?
そしたらね、必ず往生できると疑いなくはっきり知らされるんだと、こういうおっしゃってるんですね。
And Master Shinran replied to us that certain to achieve rebirth in paradise. In other words, it is clarified to him that he will definitely be able to go to the Pure Land. This is what Master Shinran said.
往生っていうのは、行って生まれるということです。
So the word ojo means to go and to rebirth, to be born.
極楽浄土へ行って仏に生まれるということです。
So the word ojo actually refers to go to the Pure Land and rebirth as a Buddha.
ということは、阿弥陀仏の本願に救われたならばですね、死ねばね、必ず極楽浄土へ行って仏に生まれるということがもう今はっきりするんだと、こういうことを言われてるんですね。
So what Master Shinran referring here is that a person, once they are being saved by Amida Buddha in this lifetime, their rebirth in the Pure Land as a Buddha will be clarified in this life while they are still alive.
死んだ後のことが今疑いなく、一点の疑いもなく、はっきり知らされるんだよと。こういうお答えなんですよ。
The answer, Master Shinran, to us is that the person's rebirth in the Pure Land, which is once they died, they will be rebirth in the Pure Land as a Buddha. This will be clarified to them while they are alive, not after death, but now in this life while they are still alive. This will be clarified to them.
これ読んでね、いや、そんな幸せがあるんなら私、ぜひ聞きたいと、こういうふうになるかね。まあ、それはそういうことあったらいいわね、と。それで何ですかと。まあ、そんなふうにこれ読むかですね。まあ、人によって全然違うんですね。
So many people, after they read this part, some said, "Oh, I see." No one, there are hardly people said, "Oh, please let me know. I want to know more about this." Most people, their reaction with, "Oh, I see," or some people might react in such way like, "Oh, if that is true, that it would be good." Of course, depending on the personality, they have different reactions once they read these sentences.
人間はね、生まれたら必ず死ななければならないということは、これはもう子供でも知ってるんですね。
When we were born, definitely we will have to face death. This is a fact that even a child knows it.
だけど私たちは別にそんな今日や明日には死ぬとはもう思ってないですよね。
But we don't think that we will die tonight or tomorrow.
だから死んだらどうなるんだろうかということを、そんなに真剣にですね、考えたことが今まであったでしょうか。
But everyone, have you actually think seriously about what will happen to yourself when you die?
まあ、生まれたら死ぬということは理解はしてますけども、それが自分の問題とはなかなか思わないですよね。
Most people understand the fact that we have to die when the moment when we were born into this world, but we don't consider this as our problem, our own problem.
だからもしね、健康診断を受けてね、ちょっともう一回検査しますからって電話かかってきたらね、ちょっとびっくりしますよね。ひょっとしたら悪い病気かなと。そう思ったときね、これどうなるんだろうかと。そういうふうに驚くことはあるかもしれません。
So, if we go for body checkup, once the checkup is completed, and then we return home, and the hospital give us a call and tell us, "Oh, could you please come again? There is something we need to check more carefully." When we hear such news or information, then we might think, "Oh no, what happens to me? Did I actually have some serious disease?" We will feel very worried at the time.
ところがね、再検査したところが、やっぱ大丈夫でしたって言われたら、よかったと思って、もうそれでもうね、また忘れてしまう。
And once we take a second checkup, and the doctor tell us that actually there's no problem with you, you are completely fine. Then we will have a peace of mind. We will become at ease, and we will forget about it almost instantly.
そしてもう生きることばかり考えるんですね。
And then all we think in our mind would be how to live.
もしね、飛行機に例えたらね、飛んでる飛行機にとってね、大切なこと2つあるんですね。
So let us take airplane as an example. For a plane to take flight, there are two main things which is very important.
それ何だと思いますか？
What do you think that would be?
飛んでいる飛行機にとってね、大事なこと2つあるんですよ。
For a plane that is in its flight, in the middle of the flight, there are two very important things.
どれかわかりますか？
Does anyone know the answer?
これはね、飛んでどこへ行くのか、どこに飛行機が降りるのかということと、そこまでじゃあどうやって飛んでいくのかと。この2つなんですよ。
The answer is, where is this plane heading to? Where will it land? The first thing is this, where it's heading to, where will it land? And the second one is, how what sort of way, what is the means of flight, what is the path it should take on the flight.
飛んでどこに降りるのか、そこまでじゃあどのように飛ぶのか、飛び方。この2つが大事なんですよ。両方大事なんですね。
So in other words, the destination where it will land, and the second one is how to fly. You know, what is the way for the plane to reach to its destination? In other words, the means. So these two things, the destination and the means, both are equally important.
で、その飛び方にはね、どのように飛ぶかというその飛び方にはね、どれぐらいの高さで飛ぶかとか、どれぐらいのスピードで飛ぶかとか、それとね、飛行機の中でどのように過ごすかと、これも全部飛び方なんですね。
So the means to fly means that what sort of speed the plane should take, what sort of height the plane should take, and what sort of things should be happened inside the plane.
で、飛行機の中でですね、食事をしたり、映画を見たり、音楽を楽しんだりしますよね。
During the flight, we will eat in-flight meals, we will watch movies, and we will listen to music.
ところがもしですね、いや、実はまだこの飛行機を降りるところがまだはっきりしていないんですと。こんなアナウンスが入ったらどんな気持ちになります？
So if say there is a public announcement telling us that, sorry, we are not sure where we will land our plane yet. When this announcement is being made, how the people in the flight would think or feel?
なんか言ってたなと、とにかく目の前の食事しようと、そんなこと思えないでしょ。
So many people, they wouldn't think in such way like, they announce something, but it's probably nothing to do with me, and they will continue eating their in-flight meal. No one would think such way, isn't it?
何？降りるところはまだはっきりわからない。それ一体どういうことだと。そのアナウンス聞いただけでね、びっくりしてですね、目の前の食事とか音楽とか、そんな喜びも吹き飛んでしまうでしょ。
When we hear such announcement, normally what people would react is, what? Say what? How is it possible that you are not sure where is the landing spot? Most people would they will start to become very panic, and they won't care about what the in-flight meal is, or they won't care what is the movie or the music that they are listening at that moment.
それまではね、いや、なんかこの料理美味しいねとか、いや、なんかちょっと美味しくないねとか、そう味の話していたとかね、映画が面白いとか面白くないとか、そういう話していた人たちがね、もう、その話、一切やめてしまってね、いや、この飛行機どこ降りるのか、これはっきりさせてほしいと。そういう気持ちにね、みんなの気持ちが一つになるでしょ。
So everyone would stop. They will become very concerned about where is this plane is going to land. Please make clear about this. They will forget about how delicious the meal is, or they will forget about how interesting the movie or music they listen to. All they care about, everyone in the plane, they would only care about one thing, and that one thing is where is this plane is going to land.
乗客がね、この安心満足幸せになるにはね、美味しい料理を食べるとか、楽しい映画を見るっていうことも、それによっても幸せにはなれるんですけども、そういう幸せとね、降りるところがはっきりしない、それがね、降りるところがはっきりしましたよと、こういう、これを聞いたね、喜びとね、同じでしょうか？違うでしょうか？
So these in-flight meals and entertainment, they can be experienced. They can make these passengers feel the joy. Is due to the fact that they have a clear destination. If the destination is there's no clear destinations or the landing spot, would they make the same joy for those like the meals, the entertainment? Will they still become the same joy or something that the in-flight passengers could enjoy if the destinations is unclear?
飛行機の中でのね、過ごし方のね、質、味とか映画とかがね、質が向上する喜びとね、降りるところがはっきりしなかった、その不安が、降りるところがはっきりして安心した喜びとね、同じでしょうか、違うでしょうか。
So the quality of these in-flight meals or entertainment for those who already confirmed their landing spot, and for those who the landing spot is unknown, would they still provide the same joy and satisfaction to the in-flight passengers?
皆さんどう思いますか、これ。
What do you guys think? Would they be the same?
大体よく似たものだと思うか、いや、ちょっと違うか、全く違うと思うか、どうですか？
So what is it? What do you guys think? Is it like it's more or less the same? It's quite different, and or is it completely different?
皆さんどう思いますかね？
What do you guys think?
より美味しい料理が出てくるとね、私たち幸せでしょ？
So if the food quality is it's high quality food, we become even more happier, right?
だからもっと美味しいもの食べたい、もっと美味しいもの食べて喜びたいとみんな思うんですよ。
That is why most people would want to eat more delicious food, more delicious drink.
そういう喜びとね、降りるところがはっきりしなかったせずにね、不安であった乗客がね、降りるところがはっきりして、そして安心する、その喜びとね、これ、全然質が違うでしょ。
The joy of the food and the entertainment given by a flight that has a clear landing spot is completely different to the food, even if the food and entertainment is the same quality. But the joy that provided to those to the passengers would be very different to those who the landing spot is unknown, right?
このまま、もしね、降りるところがはっきりしないまま飛んでいたら、やがて燃料が切れて、どこか降りなきゃなりませんけども、わからなければ墜落するでしょ、飛行機は。
If the plane has no clear landing spot, it doesn't know where it's heading towards to, eventually the fuel would runs out and it will crash landing in the end, isn't it?
人間生まれたら必ず死ぬということは誰でも知ってますが、自分が本当に人生が終わるということが、を感じた人はですね、いや、これ一体終わったとどうなるんだろうかと、それが心配になった人から言えばですね、死ねば必ず極楽浄土行って仏になれるということがもう今はっきりするという、この喜びっていうのは、この世、いろいろな楽しみありますけど、全く質が違うでしょう。
So even though most people, they know as knowledge that people will die eventually, but for those who they are concerned about what is going to happen today when they die, and when they realize that when they die, they will be rebirthed in the Pure Land and become a Buddha, this whole life, this life, once they are after death is made clear, the life would be completely different.
死んだら人間はどうなるんだろうかと、このことが心配になった人ならですね、この意味がよくわかるとね、往生必ずできるということがはっきり今するんだと、これが分かったら、これ聞きたいなとなりませんか？
If a person is very concerned to their own afterlife, what would happen to them afterlife, then when they hear what Master Shinran said here, that once you die, your rebirth in the Pure Land is settled, then they will become very interested to know more about what Master Shinran taught, wouldn't they?
歎異抄第一章の最初に言われているこの言葉は、これはもう大変なこと言われてるんですよね、これ。
That is why the words here Master Shinran mentioned at the very beginning of Tanisho, this is a very impactful words.
これをですね、この船に乗せていただいたということで、例えてよく教えていただくんですね。
So to be saved by Amida Buddha, we in the teachings refer it as to be lifted onto the great ship.
この世で生きているときに大きな船に乗せていただいた。その時、絶対の幸福になれるんですね。
The moment in this lifetime, in the moment of instance, when we are being lifted onto the great ship, this refers to the moment when we attain absolute happiness.
絶対の幸福というのは、死ねば必ず極楽浄土へ行って仏になれるということがはっきりした幸せなことですね。
Absolute happiness refers to that happiness that your rebirth in the Pure Land as a Buddha is settled. It's clarified to you in this life while you are still alive in the present. This is known as absolute happiness.
これはこの世でのことですね、これは。
This happened in the present.
船に乗せていただくのはこの世ですね。
Being lifted onto the great ship, this happened in the present, in this life.
この世で船に乗せていただいた人が死んで、弥陀の浄土で仏になるんですね。
A person who being lifted onto the great ship in this life, in the present, when they die, they will be rebirth in the Pure Land as a Buddha.
未来永遠に仏として生き抜くんですから、そういう意味、そうなるんですね。
They will forever live as a Buddha in the afterlife.
ただこの世でこの船に乗っても、乗った時は仏になるんじゃないですよ。
Of course, this doesn't refer that the moment when you are lifted onto the great ship, you will become a Buddha immediately.
絶対の幸福になるんですね。
This is not what it means. It means the moment when you are lifted onto the great ship, this is the moment you attain absolute happiness.
絶対の幸福とは仏になるということではありません。
Attained absolute happiness is different from becoming a Buddha.
悟りには52の位があります。
There are 52 levels in enlightenment.
その52段目、最高の悟りを仏の悟りと言います。
The highest level, which is the level 52, is known as the Buddha's enlightenment.
この地球上では今日までお釈迦様以外にはありません。
On this planet, up until today, there is only one Buddha, and that is Shakyamuni Buddha.
仏になるということは52段の悟りを開くということはもう大変なことですね。
So it's a very difficult task to attain Buddha's enlightenment.
私たちがこの世で阿弥陀仏に救われる、阿弥陀仏の本願に救われるということは、絶対の幸福に救われるということなんですね。
So in this life, when we are being saved by Amida Buddha, this is referred that we attain absolute happiness.
歎異抄第一章ではそれを摂取不捨の利益と言われているんですね。
So on the first chapter of Tanisho, to save into absolute happiness is referred to as attaining this happiness of receive the benefit of being held fast, never to be forsaken.
これは仏になるということではありません。
This does not refer to you become a Buddha. You haven't become a Buddha yet.
阿弥陀仏の救いは2回あります。
Amida Buddha's salvation occurs 2 times.
それはこの船に乗った人のことです。
This is only applicable to those who are being lifted onto the great ship.
この船に乗った人は、この世は絶対の幸福、死ねば成仏。これで2回ですね。
Those who are being lifted onto the great ship, in this life they will attain absolute happiness, and once they die, they will become a Buddha. These are the 2 times salvation.
ですから、この世で大戦に乗せていただく。この世で絶対の幸福になる。この世で摂取不捨の幸せをいただく。これが一番大事なんですね。
That is why in this life, in the present, being lifted onto the great ship, in the present, being saved into absolute happiness, in the present, receive the benefit of being held fast, never to be forsaken, is the most vital thing for all of us.
だからこの世で大戦に乗らなければ絶対の幸福にはなれませんし、死んでも浄土へは行けませんし、仏にもなれないということです。
Why is that so? It's because if you are not being lifted onto the great ship in the present, not only you won't attain absolute happiness, when you die, you won't be able to go to the Pure Land, and you won't be able to be rebirthed as a Buddha.
だから、この大悲の願泉にこの世で乗せていただくっていうことが大事なんですね。
So it is important for us to be lifted onto the great ship in the present.
この世で早く助けて、その船に乗せていただかなければならないんですね。
That is why we have to be lifted onto the great ship as soon as possible.
阿弥陀仏は必ずこの世で絶対の幸福に助ける。大きな船に乗せてみせる。摂取不捨の幸福にすると約束されています。
Amida Buddha promised that definitely in the present, he will save us into absolute happiness. He will provide us this benefit of being held fast, never to be forsaken.
だから親鸞聖人はそのお約束の通りに必ず助けていただけますよと繰り返しおっしゃってるんですね。
That is why Master Shinran said repeatedly that if you do exactly what is being promised in the vow, you are able to be lifted onto the great ship.
その大悲の願泉に乗せていただいたと同時に、苦しみの人生が幸せな人生にガラリと変わるということです。
In the instance when you are being lifted onto the great ship, this life that is full of suffering will turn into a life that is full of joy instantly.
これ絶対の幸福になりますから、体制に乗ったら乗ったことが本人がはっきりするんですね。
Because the moment when you are being lifted onto the great ship, you attain absolute happiness. That is why the person who is being lifted onto the great ship, it will be very clear, like crystal clear, whether he has being lifted onto the great ship or not.
親鸞聖人はそれを大悲の願泉に乗ったと、そして光明の効果に浮かんだと、はっきり書き残しておられますね。
Even Master Shinran, he mentioned that once you are being lifted onto the great ship, when you're aboard onto the great ship, you are like afloat on the vast ocean of brightness.
蓮如上人は、この今こそ明らかに知られたりと、今はっきりしたと、はっきり書き残されてますね。
And even Master Renyo, he also mentioned like, now this is all being clarified to me.
必ず往生できると疑いなくはっきり知らされたということを書いておられるんですよ。
Master Renyo writes it very clearly that his rebirth on the Pure Land is being clarified to him now in the present without a single doubt.
そんな死んでからのことがなぜ今はっきりするんですかという人はまだ絶対の幸福になっていないということです。
A person who asks the question of why is it even possible for a person to clarify what is going to happen to him when he died, to those who ask this question, this is because he have yet to attain absolute happiness.
弥陀の誓願不思議にまだ助けていただいていないということです。
This means that that person is not being saved through the wonder of Amida Buddha's vow yet.
阿弥陀仏の本願には死んだ後のこと、未来のことを現在はっきりさせる力があるんですね。
The reason is because Amida Buddha's primal vow has the power to allow a person to know clearly what is going to happen in the future, what is going to happen to that person when he dies.
だから未来のことが現在疑いなくはっきり知らされるんです。
That is why what is going to happen in the future, now in the present, without a doubt, it will be clarified to you.
これは朝晩のお勤めではですね、小に一流書皆さん読んでおられるでしょ？
This is every day when everyone do chanting, you will read this part where the last part, which referred to as the Shon Ichiru no Sho.
不可思議の眼力として仏の方より往生は事情をせしめたもと。はっきりは毎日それ読んでるんですよ。
Every day, everyone read this part. This rephrase it as through the wondrous power of Amida Buddha's primal vow, you are able, your rebirth to the Pure Land will be settled.
こういうお勤めの言葉を読んだ後で、なんでそんなはっきりするんですかねってこういうこと言ってるってことは、この意味、読んでいても意味は私たち分かってないんですね。
So a person who read that part, they might think that, how is that possible for me to know what is going to happen when I die? So a person who raised such question, that is because they don't truly understand what is absolute happiness yet.
往生は事情とはっきりするのは不可思議の眼力によるんだと、こんなはっきり書いてあるんですよ。
So Master Shinran wrote here, Master Renyo wrote there very clearly that you are able to clarify what is going to happen to you when you die. This is all due to Amida Buddha's power.
谷書の最初も弥陀の誓願不思議、不思議の弥陀の誓願って書いてある。同じことですよ、これ。
So this is exactly the same with what is written in Tanisho when Master Shinran said, being saved through the wonder of Amida's vow.
はい、こういうことを高村先生からはっきりと聞かせていただきましょう。続けてですね。
So let us listen clearly and attentively through Takamori Sensei's guidance.
はい、今日はこれで時間になりましたので終わりたいと思います。通訳ご苦労様でした。
はい、ありがとうございました。So time has come, let us end here.
では、
合唱。
お願いします。さようなら。
ありがとうございました。
はい。
Thank you so much.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much. 先生。